امریکا داره خودشو جلو میبره، بخواد برای اون کاندیدا، باز دوباره یه گروهی مثل کوکلاکس کلان KKK، یه گروه نجات پرستی که مقصودشون اینه که امریکا مال سفیداست و نباید به کسی دیگه برسه، اومدن و برای آقای ترامپ کمک های سیاسی دارن بهش میکنن. و این دیگه موضوعی نیستش که ما بخوایم اینجا بشینیم و نظریه بدیم راجع به این که فکر میکنیم که آقای ترامپ منظورش این بوده. این الان یه گروهیه که داره از آقای ترامپ حمایت میکنه و نه تنها این اتفاق افتاد، بلکه وقتی که این رو از آقای ترامپ سوال کردن در موردش و ازش پرسیدن که آیا تو حاضری که این کمک ها رو پس بدی یا این که بخوای بگی که من کلا کمک اینا رو نمیخوام یا این که اصلا طرفداری اینا رو نمیخوام، آقای ترامپ جلوی دوربین تلویزیون برای چند دقیقه‌ای به نظر اومد که داره میگه که نمیدونه که گروه KKK کیان و آیا احتیاج هستش به اینکه بخواد ردشون بکنه یا اینکه بخواد ردشون نکنه. معذرت میخوام، خواستم بگم فقط نظریه ما نیست، این دیگه نظریه نیست، این اتفاقی افتاده.
کلا آقای ترامپ یک فروشنده است، سیلزمنه و کارش فروختن هست. حالا در حال حاضر مشغول فروختن مسئله سیاسته و به اون دلیل این شخص بسیار واردی تو زمینه خودش، بحثی درش نیست و اون چیزی رو که خریدار میخواد داره بهش میفروشه و میدونه در حال حاضر، البته این مسئله اگر به زمانی برسه به انتخابات نهایی برسید در سطح کشور، این مسائل براش مشکل ساز خواهد بود، ولی در حال حاضر تمامی تمرکز این شخص گرفتن مثلا نامینیشن حزب جمهوری خواه هست که از طرف دیگه میبینیم حزب جمهوری خواه خودش در یک حالت وحشتی وجود داره. الان نمیدونن ما این شخص
انگوششو گوشته روی نبض یه عده‌ای که از اونا داره استفاده میکنه ولی داره میبره. آقای ترامپ تونسته ایالت نیو همشیر، نوادا، ساوت کارولاینا، آلاسکا، آلاباما، کلرادو، جورجیا، ماساچوست، تنسی، ورمونت و ویرجینیا رو ببره. اتفاقی که افتاده و خب اینم بگیم جمعاً یه چیزی زیر 40% رأی بیشتر نگرفته، هنوز نتونسته این رأی‌ها رو برسونه به بالای 50% که احتیاج داره برای اینکه بتونه نامینیشن حزب رو ببره، ولی بودنش و بردنش باعث شده که حزب جمهوری خواهی رو که داره به عنوان از طرف اونا خودشو کاندیدا کرده، حزب جوری را بندازه بر علیه خودش که اتفاقی که ما دیدیم افتاد از طرف آقای رامنی که تو این هفته اومد و بر علیه آقای ترامپ صحبت کرد، یه چیزی بودش که من اگر وجود داشته، من نمیدونم که در تاریخ امریکا کی یه حزبی اومده و فرانت رانر خودشو، اون کسی که داره رأی بیشتر از هر کسی دیگه ای رو میگیره، برگردن بهش گفتن شارلاتان و متقلب. اگر اجازه بدین تیپ آقای رامنی رو براتون میذاریم، میدونم که به انگلیسیه، براتون خود راجبش توضیح خواهیم داد، ولی فکر میکنم که خیلی مهمه که همشو بشنویم. اگه امکان داره استی جان برای تیپ آقای رامنی رو بذار.
If we Republicans choose Donald Trump as our nominee, the prospects for a safe and prosperous future are greatly diminished. Let me explain why I say that. First, on the economy. If Donald Trump's plans were ever implemented, the country would sink into prolonged recession. A few examples. His proposed 35% tariff-like penalties would instigate a trade war, and that would raise prices for consumers, kill our export jobs, and lead entrepreneurs and businesses of all stripes to flee America. His tax plan, in combination with his refusal to reform entitlements and to honestly address spending, would balloon the deficit and the national debt. So even though Donald Trump has offered very few specific economic plans, what little he has said is enough to know that he would be very bad for American workers and for American families. But you say, wait. Isn't he a huge business success? Doesn't he know what he's talking about? No, he isn't. And no, he doesn't. His, look, his bankruptcies have crushed small businesses and the men and women who work for them. He inherited his business. He didn't create it. And whatever happened to Trump Airlines? How about Trump University? And then there's Trump Magazine, and Trump Vodka, and Trump Steaks, and Trump Mortgage. A business genius, he is not. Now, not every policy that Donald Trump has floated is bad, of course. He wants to repeal and replace Obamacare. He wants to bring jobs home from China and Japan. But his prescriptions to do those things are flimsy at best. At the last debate, all he could remember about his health care plan was to remove insurance boundaries between states. Successfully bringing jobs home requires serious policy and reforms that make America the place businesses want to come, want to plant, and want to grow. You can't punish business into doing what you want. Frankly, the only serious policy proposals that deal with a broad range of national challenges we confront today come from Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, and John Kasich. One of these men should be our nominee. Now, I know that some people want this race to be over. They look at history and say a trend like Mr. Trump's isn't going to be stopped. Perhaps. But the rules of political history have pretty much all been shredded during this campaign. If the other candidates can find some common ground, I believe we can nominate a person who can win the general election and who will represent the values and policies of conservatism. Given the current delegate selection process, that means that I'd vote for Marco Rubio in Florida, and for John Kasich in Ohio, and for Ted Cruz, or whichever one of the other two contenders has the best chance of beating Mr. Trump in a given state. Now let me turn to national security and the safety of our homes and loved ones. Mr. Trump's bombast is already alarming our allies and fueling the enmity of our enemies. Insulting all Muslims will keep many of them from fully engaging with us in their urgent fight against ISIS. And for what purpose? Muslim terrorists would only have to lie about their religion to enter the country. And then what he said about 60 Minutes, did you hear this? It was about Syria and ISIS, and it has to go down as the most ridiculous and dangerous idea of the entire campaign season. Let ISIS take out Assad, he said, and then we can pick up the remnants. Now think about that. Let the most dangerous terror organization the world has ever known take over an entire country? This recklessness is recklessness in the extreme. Now, Donald Trump tells us that he is very, very smart. I'm afraid that when it comes to foreign policy, he is very, very not smart. Now, I'm far from the first to conclude that Donald Trump lacks the temperament to be president. After all, this is an individual who mocked a disabled reporter, who attributed a reporter's questions to her menstrual cycle, who mocked a brilliant rival who happened to be a woman due to her appearance, who bragged about his marital affairs, and who laces his public speeches with vulgarity. Donald Trump says he admires Vladimir Putin. At the same time, he's called George W. Bush a liar. That is a twisted example of evil trumping good. There's a dark irony in his boasts of his sexual exploits during the Vietnam War, while at the same time, John McCain, whom he has mocked, was imprisoned and tortured. Dishonesty is Donald Trump's hallmark. He claimed that he had spoken clearly and boldly against going into Iraq. Wrong. He spoke in favor of invading Iraq. He said he saw thousands of Muslims in New Jersey celebrating 9/11. Wrong. He saw no such thing. He imagined it. He's not of the temperament of the kind of stable, thoughtful person we need as leader. His imagination must not be married to real power. The President of the United States has long been the leader of the free world. The President and, yes, even the nominees of the country's great parties helped define America to billions of people around the world. All of them bear the responsibility of being an example for our children and our grandchildren. Think of Donald Trump's personal qualities: the bullying, the greed, the showing off, the misogyny, the absurd third-grade theatrics. You know, we've long referred to him as the Donald. He's the only person in the entire country to whom we have added an article before his name, and it wasn't because he had attributes we admired. Now imagine your children and your grandchildren acting the way he does. Would you welcome that? Haven't we seen before what happens when people in prominent positions fail the basic responsibility of honorable conduct? We have. And it always injures our families and our country. Watch, by the way, how he responds to my speech today. Will he talk about our policy differences, or will he attack me with every imaginable low-road insult? This may tell you what you need to know about his temperament, his stability, and his suitability to be president. Now, Mr. Trump relishes any poll that reflects what he thinks of himself. But polls are also saying that he will lose to Hillary Clinton. Think about that. On Hillary Clinton's watch, the State Department, when she was guiding it and part of the Obama administration, that State Department watched as America's interests were diminished at every corner of the world. She compromised our national secrets. She dissembled to the families of the slain. And she jettisoned her most profound beliefs to gain presidential power. For the last 3 decades, the Clintons have lived at the intersection of money and politics, trading their political influence to enrich their personal finances. They embody the term crony capitalism. It disgusts the American people and causes them to lose faith in our political process. A person so untrustworthy and dishonest as Hillary Clinton must not become president. Of course, a Trump nomination enables her victory. And the audio and video of the infamous Tapper-Trump exchange on the Ku Klux Klan will play 100,000 times on cable and who knows how many million times on social media. There are a number of people who claim that Mr. Trump is a con man, a fake. Thank you. Let me say that again. There's plenty of evidence that Mr. Trump is a con man, a fake. Mr. Trump has changed his positions not just over the years, but over the course of the campaign. And on the Ku Klux Klan daily for 3 days in a row. We will only really know if he's a real deal or a phony if he releases his tax returns and the tape of his interview with the New York Times. I predict that there are more bombshells in his tax returns. I predict that he doesn't give much, if anything, to the disabled and to our veterans. I predict that he told the New York Times that his immigration talk is just that, talk. And I predict that despite his promise to do so, first made over a year ago, that he will never, ever release his tax returns. Never. Not the returns under audit, not even the returns that are no longer being audited. He has too much to hide. Nor will he authorize the release of the tapes that he made with the New York Times.
سعی کردیم که تقریبا تمامی تیپ رو براتون بذاریم، برای اینکه فکر میکنم که سخته که وقتی بخوایم پیداش بکنیم تمامی تیپ رو پیدا بکنیم و ممکنه تیکه تیکه های این صحبت ها پروفسور کاظمی بد باشن، ولی جمعشون یه حرکتی رو نشون داد که همونطوری خدمتتون گفتم واقعا من حداقل در زمانی که آشنا هستم همچین چیزی ندیده بودم. آقای رامنی، حالا برامون شما شاید بتونیم بگیم که کی بوده، از خودش از کجا آمده، ولی آقای رامنی شخص معمولی نیست در حزب جمهوری خواه. آقای رامنی دفعه قبل کاندیدای حزب جمهوری خواه بود برای ریاست جمهوری، یعنی در واقع رهبر حزب بود در اون زمان تا اونجایی که حداقل انتخاب نشد. از آقای رامنی یه نشنال شخصیت، یه شخصیت ملی ما بزرگتر نداریم در حزب جمهوری خواه در حال حاضر. هنوز اون اتفاق نیفتاده، کسی دیگه انتخاب نشده. آقای رامنی از طرف خودش صحبت فقط نمی‌کرد. آقای رامنی اینجا بود و با کمک حزب جمهوری خواه اومده بود و داشت بر علیه فرانت رانر خودشون صحبت میکرد. چرا اینو میگم بهتون؟ برای اینکه ما دیدیم که توی این هفته یه حداقل 3 تا بیلیونر جمهوری خواه در یه تلفن کانفرنسی که با 50 تا بیلیونر دیگه با همدیگه داشتن جمع شدن و خواستن که یه حسابی بسازن که بره و بر علیه آقای ترامپ شروع کنه کار کردن، حداقل در عرض 2 هفته آینده که فکر میکنن که بیشترین وقت رو دارن برای اینکه بخوان یه کاری بکنن بر